kind of the prodigal story of it. The fact that LeBron James, like the old biblical story, left his home to make his way in the world, in this case to win a championship, but he came back, and he came back to bring the championship back. I thought that was a great story, especially considering the 52 years that the region had been without that kind of, plaudit, that kind of a reward for their fandom. And obviously I felt he was a guy who could do it. In 2015 when Blatt came, when he first came back. So I followed it for the whole year, went to the playoff games, did the whole 9 yards, thinking this was going to be, he's going to come back and immediately do it. And when it didn't happen, it was a huge letdown, obviously, for everybody. Though, because Love was injured and Kyrie was injured, it was a little different. And I felt like, well, when they're healthy, surely they're going to come back and win it. Nobody had really thought, Golden State is one of the greatest teams ever. They're a good team, but they hadn't won 73 games at that point. So I looked at my wife, because this is all out of my pocket. We said, well, it's going to happen, so let's do it. And we went through back in. And I'll tell you what, around mid-season, after Blatt got fired and the team looked kind of mediocre, you're thinking, wow, have I wasted 2 years of my life? Now, the thing is that I had always been a big fan of Blatt's, and he was a new guy when I was a new guy in 2015, and I was one of the writers that he gravitated towards and took a liking to, which honestly probably didn't help him and didn't help me, because the other reporters kind of got the back of his hand sometimes, and they resented the fact that somebody who was brand new and hadn't served their time or whatever was coming along and got all of his favor. Not that they didn't have brand new guys there too, so it was a little bit of a misplaced thing, but there was some jealousy or angst about that. So I will say that I think that somebody coming over from Europe is going to have some cultural issues in America. One of the things that happens in Europe is that the coach is really the head. They're the superstar. They're the people that get written about to some extent, not the players. And so the players have to defer to the coach to a certain extent rather than vice versa. When he came here, I'm not sure he fully knew how to handle that. Ironically, the thing that I think ultimately hurt him with the job was that LeBron wanted kind of more of an authoritarian coach, and Blatt is a lot more of a guy who's very even-handed, wants to delegate authority. Last year, I was a little worried after they faltered in Game 4, especially because they didn't always look good in Game 4. But I was pretty confident. I knew they were capable. You got to win 2 games at the Oracle, though. That's a hard task. But probably not the only person who says this. As soon as I heard that they were going to suspend Draymond Green for that game, I knew the Cavs were going to win the game. Draymond Green hadn't been suspended, it might not have turned out the way it did. They had a lot of momentum coming back there, and losing him, not just the person being off the floor, but there's an emotional aspect of losing him that I think impacted the Warriors and gave the Cavaliers a boost. And I knew that if they won 5, they were definitely going to win 6, and they would be back for 7. And if you're going to give me one game with the greatest player in the world, I'll take that.
Rebound taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection.
Oh my goodness. Great pass by Curry, running hard by Iguodala, and superhuman defensive recovery by LeBron James.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. And the Cavaliers by 3. Just one dribble, steps back, puts up a 3. Won't go. Rebound tip taken by Spades. Final seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Is an aspect of battle just because books are made to be on an 8 to 10, 12-month cycle. The publishing industry is not made to turn a book around in 6 months, basically from June till Christmas. Actually, you really want 5 months. I did pretty well, and even pushing really hard, I couldn't quite get it out by Thanksgiving, in part because of the Cubs. The guy who did my cover is also the art designer for Triumph Books, who does a lot of those Insta books that come out right after the World Series. So I talked to him when the Indians were up 3-1 and said, hey, I really need this right now. And he said, don't worry, I'll probably get a chance to work on it this weekend. Didn't happen. Come Monday, there was still the World Series game. I got pushed back about a week and a half, and it meant I missed the Thanksgiving deadline. So there's a lot of things to work with. It's not just writing it. Actually, writing it was probably the easiest thing in a certain sense. It only took about 10 weeks. Editing it took about 2-3 weeks. Just getting the publisher to get it. I mean, even though they don't have little racks of letters like they used to, just getting the publisher ready to print it took almost 3 weeks. That's a very difficult one because I'd have to take them for different things. The goofiest guy on the team was Timothy Mozgov, and he was so much fun and he's kind of a little bit of a man-child in a lot of ways. I mean, he's not dumb, but he has this kind of infectious, joyous way, which is really funny because he would get so down on himself in the games that it was the opposite of how he is as a person, and I think that was emblematic of what was going on with him. He was way too much in his head, and that was hurting his performance. As far as just guy that you would like to hang out with and like have a beer with, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people get this. Richard Jefferson is such a cool guy. His parents were missionaries. He has this crazy background. He can relate to almost anybody. And he's just a really, really nice, forthcoming guy. He doesn't have an agenda. I mean, the agendas are subtle in the locker room, but guys are, they have their own brand, their own deal, and their own thing. And they aren't really looking to help you as a writer. Richard knew that we were doing a job, and he was really good at kind of making you feel like he wanted to help you do your job, as opposed to being against you doing your job, which is a lot of what you get sometimes in the locker room. In my heart of hearts, I think they're going to win it. I don't know how I believe that, and I probably wouldn't have said that out loud at any other time. That's probably the first time I've said it. I don't know how they're going to beat Golden State. I have no idea, but I do know that LeBron James is one of the most gifted players ever to play any sport, let alone basketball, and I kind of feel like he's going to find a way. He almost found a way with far less talent 3 years ago, and if he can do that with guys like Shumpert and Delly leading the way, then the kind of talent he has here is enough for him to prove that he's the greatest of all time with an even greater performance than he did in the greatest comeback in NBA history.